Hello, everybody, and welcome. Today, we're looking more into the Investigation 2 packet, which is talking about adding positive and negative integers. So, yesterday, we talked about if we have two numbers that are both negative and we're adding them together. So, for example, we have -6 plus -2. Well, the rules for solving for this would just be to add the numbers like we normally would. 6 plus 2, that's going to give me 8. And then I'm going to keep the sign of the two numbers. So since I have two negative numbers, my answer is also going to have a negative sign. And we can think about this in terms of taking 6 steps back, and then we take another 2 steps backwards. We've taken a total of 8 steps backwards, and that's why it's -8. And then we can think about if we have a negative number plus a positive number. And in this case, let's say we had +2 and -6. So how we determine what our answer is going to be here is by looking at the steps below. First, we're going to determine the absolute value of these two numbers. Now remember, absolute value, that's referring to the distance from 0. So -6 on a number line is 6 places away from 0, and 2 on a number line is 2 places away from 0. Since we have our absolute values, we need to look at the second part. Determine which number has the biggest absolute value. So between 6 and 2, which one is bigger? 6, right? 6 is going to be bigger. So now we can subtract these two numbers. 6 minus 2, that gives us 4. And now to determine the sign of that 4, we're going to keep the sign of the larger number. All right, that's why we had to look at absolute value. Because when we go back to our 6 and 2, we say that 6 is larger, and on our original equation, our 6 has a negative sign. Therefore, our answer is also going to be negative. And we can think about this here as if we have $6 that we owe, and we pay back 2 of those dollars, then we still owe $4, and that's why we're still in the negative here. So since we learned how to add positive and negative numbers yesterday, we can use this skill to help us subtract positive and negative numbers. So here I'm scrolling down to page 11, lesson 2.3, and at top it says I can subtract integers using a number line or the standard algorithm. So here what I like to do before I even begin is circle my negative numbers in red and circle my positive numbers in green. And here, just like before, we are using the number line to help us visualize what it's going to look like, except this time we are subtracting. So here in the first problem, I'm starting at -4. So I'm going to find -4 in my number line. And now I'm going to think about, okay, I'm subtracting. So typically when I'm subtracting, I'm going to go in the negative direction to the left. And when I'm subtracting a normal positive number like 3, I'm going to go in that direction. 1, 2, 3. So subtracting 3 puts me at -7. Boom goes the dynamite. Now I move on to question 2. This time I'm starting at +8. And again, I'm thinking I'm subtracting, so I'm going to be going to the left. But let's hold the phone. I have to look at the sign of my following number. In this case, it's a negative number. And so instead of doing what we would normally do and go towards the left when we subtract, we're going to do the opposite of that. And we're actually going to go towards the right in the positive direction. So when we're subtracting a negative, we're going to hop 5 places in the positive direction, putting us right here at +13. This is when we subtract a negative number. We move in the positive direction. So we have +13 as an answer here, and we'll do one more problem together. Here we have two negative numbers that we're subtracting. In this case, we're starting at -4. And again, I'm thinking that I'm going to be moving to the left in the negative direction, but since the sign for my 10 is negative, I'm going to be doing the opposite of that and actually moving to the right in the positive direction. So 10 places, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, puts me at positive 6. That is subtracting negative 10. And so now it's your turn to practice this skill. We have 5 minus 8 and negative 5 minus 4. Use that number line, all right? Color code it. Maybe even circle the terms that are positive in red, that are negative, and then circle the terms that are positive in green. So let's go ahead and do that to start. And now you can go ahead and solve these problems. I'll work along silently with you so that way you can check your work. All right, so go ahead, check your work. Did you get the same answers as me? If so, then you're hopefully understanding this and you can continue on and do the same thing for the rest of these problems. You're going to work from page 11 to page 12, going through workshop 1, and you're going to look for similarities here between part 1 and part 2. It says, what do you notice about the previous two problems? Is there a pattern that you can see? Same thing for problems 4 and 5, 6 and 7, 8 and 9. All right, so you're going to complete these problems here that we see and look for a similarity between 11 minus negative 6 and 11 plus 6. Is there a similarity between the two problems? All right, and you're going to record your answers right down below where it says, what do you notice about the previous two problems? And then once you get past page 13, you're going to move on to part B on page 14. And this is where the real world problems come into play. So we'll do one of these problems together. It says it is 5 degrees outside and the temperature will drop 17 degrees. So when we see the word drop, are we going to be increasing the temperature or going in the negative direction, subtracting? So I'm going to start here at 5. And now it's going to drop 17. So I'm going to have 5 minus 17. So I'm going to be moving 17 spots in the negative direction. Should put me right here. Negative 12. All right, you're going to do the same thing for the rest of part B. And then once you finish up with part B, then we're on to the second mini lesson. And this is where you're going to see the next video. And it's going to be taking us through how we solve for subtracting positive and negative numbers. It's going to give us that trick that we were looking for. All right, go ahead, finish up until page 14, and then I'll see you in a little bit.